28. And we're so glad to have each and every one of you as supporters of the foundation. My name is Scott Wiley. I'm a member of the board of directors of the foundation. I'm a longtime volunteer of the foundation, and I'm a donor to the foundation, and we are so glad to have you here today. I will try to be as funny as I possibly can, but as you know, we did not get to have cocktail hour first, so I'm not nearly as good looking or as entertaining as I normally would be if we had all had the opportunity to do that. But we're going to do our best to go through. We have a brisk program to go over the successes of the foundation. We'll be bringing that to you from my gracious den, while all of you sit in various rooms and offices of your homes and offices across the state. So on behalf of the foundation, our board and staff, we want to thank you for your service this year to the organization. And for those of you who may not be familiar, the foundation was established in 1950, so 70 years ago, and has been committed to improving civic education and civil legal assistance for all Hoosiers. Today is about recognizing and thanking those who impacted the foundation in 2020, since we were unable to have our in-person event. While it's been a tough year for everyone, understatement of the decade, we're proud of what the foundation was able to accomplish this year. And our foundation board leadership and I are going to take you through these year in the review, where we can highlight the components of our work and recognize those who supported those efforts. And at the end of the program, we're going to be joining each other in small breakout rooms to enjoy a bit of networking, other things. So during a video or something, if you want to sneak off, I'm already prepared. If you want to sneak off and grab yourself soda pop, or like me, a tea, you can do that, and we'll be joining some social time at the end. So before we begin year in review quick, I'd like to introduce Scott Barnhart, who's our board president, chair of our board, and he's going to do some brief introductory remarks. Scott?
Thanks, Scott. It's always you're always a tough act to follow, I must say. I want to highlight the fact that the board and the staff of the Bar Foundation have spent the last 6 months creating a strategic plan for 2021 to 2024. Right, we had some spare time on our hands with the pandemic, and so we decided to take on the task of looking at what it is that the Bar Foundation wants to focus on, and growing the programs and the services, and increasing the diversity of our participants and constituents that we serve, and creating engagement and connections over the next 4 to 5 years. One of the key components of the strategic plan has been to develop a new mission and a vision statement that reflects who we are as an organization, and we're excited to share this with you today. The Foundation's mission is to inspire and to lead change to improve civic education and legal assistance for all Hoosiers. Its vision is to be the premier statewide charitable organization and trusted partner advancing civic literacy in the legal system. And I must say, in terms of, I want to give some credit to Alex Forlowski and to Tim Abeska, who were a instrumental part of helping create this vision statement and this mission statement. We spent a lot of time wordsmithing, going back and forth, and having a lot of meetings to discuss what it is exactly that we want to focus on, and what is the vision statement, what is the mission, and in terms of what do we want to try to achieve, right? So the mission statement is what we're doing right now, and the vision statement is aspirational. Where do we want to be? And so I want to thank Tim Abeska and Alex for their significant efforts in helping come up with this. So on behalf of the board, and they have the mission statement and the vision statement there, so you can take a closer look at it. But we want to thank you for a great year and for the continued support of our mission. And now I'm going to turn back to Scott and his tea.
Great, thank you so much. And I get to start us off by talking about some of the changes that we've done in this year in the creation of our pro bono system changes. I see Justice Slaughter's here, and Chief Justice Rush is here, Judge May, who of course was instrumental in helping us get to where we are. Nothing like starting out a new year by merging 11 small, disparate, nonprofit pro bono agencies across the state, and then immediately be sent home during a pandemic pandemic, making any type of in-person work for the balance of the year virtually impossible. I joke that when we created Pro Bono Indiana at the beginning of the year, we gave birth to this new entity, and it's just the ugliest little baby you have ever seen, only because many of the things that we had hoped and dreamed of being able to do this year were made more challenging by two things. One, of course, the pandemic in itself making it impossible. I have still not met most of my staff in person. The second, of course, being that demand for pro bono and other civil legal aid assistance, especially in the area of housing and financial and debt issues, exploded because of the COVID pandemic. But we do now have a combined pro bono agency that covers 11 of our 12 offices across the state. We reduced the administrative costs. We no longer have 12 different insurance policies and 12 different accountants and 12 different this, all for small little nonprofits. A simple example is we saved nearly 80% in malpractice insurance costs across the system. And those savings have been able to be redirected to providing pro bono legal assistance directly to Hoosiers across the state. And so while it has been challenging, we now have 11 of the 12 programs in, and Judge Avery, who heads our 12th program, which is Fort Wayne, is president of the board of directors, demonstrating the full system working together throughout the state. What we wanted to highlight for you today, though, is something that we did at the foundation. And that is we transferred operation of the Indiana Free Legal Answers program, which answers questions for Hoosiers that have legal need in the civil arena, from the Bar Foundation to Pro Bono Indiana. It is run out of our Jeffersonville office, and this year you'll see the statistics there. We served nearly just over 2,500 people and added an additional 700 hours of pro bono service just through the operation of that program. That program is national, and all but 7 states now have some version of that platform, which is operated by the American Bar Association. And we nearly doubled the percentage of questions that were answered in the year since Pro Bono Indiana took over that program. It's just one of the many routes that the foundation's support and efforts have gone to improve access for Hoosiers across the state. So we wanted to highlight that for all of you. And next, I'm going to turn it over to Drew Houck, who is going to present our information on mock trials. So Drew, why don't you take over for us now?
Thanks, Scott. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to report that in February and March of 2020, we had what was a fantastic mock trial competition, but also a very normal in-person event where we hosted over 5 mock trial competitions across the state, and 52 teams from 29 schools were able to compete. It was a continuation of a really strong program at the foundation, with over 450 students playing some part with their teams and during those competitions, whether it was as attorneys preparing for arguments and questioning witnesses, or as witnesses putting on a show for everybody that was there and mastering their understanding of the case materials before them. We really would like to take an opportunity, though, to thank the other half of that component. And the other half of that component are many of you who are on the call. We had nearly 300 volunteers who helped us pull off the in-person competitions across the state, judging the competitions, presiding over the competitions in many battles and objections in the courtrooms. And we just would really like to thank all of you and all of them who gave their time and their resources for that, especially drawing attention to 2 law firms, Barnes and Thornburg and Fagery, Drinker, Biddle and Reith, who helped support that program during last year and are of course, continuing sponsors of that program. I would be remiss, though, if I didn't point out we're having a very different competition here in 2021, but we're still very excited about it. It is a testament to the hard work of the staff and volunteers at the foundation that we have been able to pivot and translate the mock trial competition into a virtual competition that we'll be proceeding with next month and into March, with many of the same schools competing virtually in our competition. So if you have time and if you're available to help judge in that competition, please consider giving some time. And one of the benefits of it, of course, is that you can do it from your home office. Which I don't know about you, but my furry work from home colleagues are sometimes much easier to have around than being in a live office, and may make judging much easier this time too. So please consider volunteering with us. We're very excited to have a successful virtual competition, but we certainly can't do it without you. I'll turn it back over to Scott, and he's going to talk to you about another exciting virtual competition we have coming up later this spring, the Mock Trial Nationals.
Well, I will tell you, all of us on this call, especially I think most of us are attorneys and or judicial officers. We all probably still have that dream, that stress dream where we had that course that we forgot to go to all term, and we have a final and we can't remember where it is and can't get there, and we can't finish War and Peace in time. Sometimes our national mock trial competition has felt kind of like that. Chuck and I went to Hartford, Connecticut in 2017, and we sold Evansville, Indiana and the Indiana Bar Foundation like the dickens, and we got this wonderful opportunity to bring this national competition, actually international competition, to Evansville, Indiana. And I will tell you, it's one of the proudest things I've gotten to do is tell our mayor that we were going to have students from all of the states, along with several foreign countries and one of our protectorates. And they're actually building a new hotel in town, and we were all excited. And we got almost there. And Don Lundberg raised all the money, and we did all this wonderful work, only to have what happened to everything else, which was COVID hit. And so our national competition of May of last year was canceled. Very kindly, the people who were following us in line got out of line and allowed Evansville to keep the competition for May of 2021. Because as we all know, we were going to be well out of COVID by then. Well, here we go again. So we're going to be virtual. But if I have to sit at the Hyatt Hotel in downtown Evansville and do everything on Zoom, I'm going to do it. And we will be hosting the competition from Evansville, but it will be virtual this year. But the wonderful thing about the work of the foundation in that is we are such a trusted partner in this work with our colleagues who do the national, that they have been very kind to allow us to continue to do that. And I hope someday, when we are in the after times, that we'll be able to welcome everyone back to Indiana again. But your support, especially those of you who donated or assist Don in that work, and here we have, these are the sponsors and the other things that are dealing with that. That's how we were able to fund doing this work. This work will also, by the way, I'll just mention, because I'm not reading my script as I'm supposed to, but I will just mention also, this also gives some funding to ensure that we can help expand the mock trial program throughout the state of Indiana. And because of this national program, we have now started a regional program out of Evansville as well. So it allowed us to expand our statewide footprint and to maintain our national position with that. So I'm going to introduce now Alex Orlowski, who's going to cover the We the People nationals. Alex.
Thanks, Scott. Good afternoon, everybody. I want to take you back to a time, a long, long time ago, before Zoom, before collared shirts and sweatpants, when we actually still did things in person. And every year, the champions of the Indiana We the People state finals in December get the privilege and the honor to represent the state at the national competition in Washington, D.C. in the spring. Unfortunately, that didn't quite happen as planned this year. We got to the national competition and COVID had hit by that time, but we are very pleased and just thrilled to report that our very own Fishers Junior High School persevered, adapted on the fly from a live competition to a Zoom competition before I had even had my first Zoom hearing, and won the National Invitational Challenge for the state of Indiana this year. So we continue to have a great showing at We the People Nationals, as we do every year. And we wanted to take this opportunity to thank the Indiana State Bar Association sections that you see on your screen, who help support the nationals team from Indiana to make this possible, so that they can have this once in a lifetime experience. And we're also very pleased to report that Team Indiana will be attending again this year, hopefully to defend the national title. Next, I wanted to take this opportunity and something that's very personally significant to me as a partner of mine, Tim Abeska, this summer, it established an endowed fund at the Indiana Bar Foundation to support civic education and civil justice. Tim has been a longtime board member, volunteer, supporter of the foundation, scriber of the mission and vision statements, and all around great guy. So at this time, I would like to introduce some recorded remarks from Tim to talk about the foundation and his newly endowed fund.
As a foundation board member from 2008 to 2012, I developed a passion for the foundation's mission, especially as it relates to civic education and the provision of legal services to the underserved population of Indiana. After focusing on what is really important in life during my wife's illness and death, after rejoining the board in 2009, I resolved to do something directly to support the foundation's work in the areas of civic education and access to justice, which have long been two of my passions. The endowed fund I established will support civic education, which is essential. As the current state of politics shows, many in the general population, the media, and even elected officials lack an understanding about how our government is designed to work and why our institutions should be cherished rather than dismantled for the sake of political expediency. Access to justice will be more important in Indiana as the state emerges from the pandemic and eviction and foreclosure actions increase. Even in the best of times, volunteer lawyers who focus their work on providing pro bono services need financial support for continuing legal education, scholarships, and other support. The endowed fund will help those lawyers. I will continue to contribute to this fund during my lifetime and through my estate, and I hope some of you listening today will likewise contribute to the fund. Thank you very much.
So thanks to Tim, and as you can see, everybody, Tim is very passionate and cares very deeply about the foundation, the work we do, and our mission here. Tim has very generously offered to match additional contributions to the endowed fund up to $5,000. There's still about $1,500 of a matching opportunity left for Tim's challenge. So if you are so inclined to contribute to the fund and help us reach that match goal, you can contribute online or by contacting any of us board members or the staff of the foundation. Scott, I'll send it back to you.
Okay, and now I get to do one of my favorite things because I am actually president of her fan club, and that is to introduce Judge Tavitas, who's going to cover the Coalition for Court Access. Judge?
Thanks, Scott. It's a mutual fan club. I'm here to report on the Coalition for Court Access. In October, the Coalition for Court Access hosted its 5th annual conference, bringing together civil legal aid providers, pro bono lawyers, law schools, members of the judiciary, and everyone who is a part of the civil legal aid community in Indiana. Justice Slaughter at that conference gave an update on the coalition, and we are going to play a video for you now.
Jeff Slaughter. I have the privilege of serving as chair of the Coalition for Court Access. Under the leadership of Chief Justice Rush, our court created the coalition in 2016 with the goal of improving the availability and quality of civil legal services for Hoosiers of limited means. This is our 5th annual conference, and for better or worse, our first virtual conference. It's with so many of us physically distant, it remains more important than ever that we remain connected, even if only virtually. I'm excited that more than 300 are signed up to attend this year's conference, and promises to be a good one. Of course, we come together because we value the partnerships between the courts and those in the public and private sectors who work to ensure that all Hoosiers have meaningful access to the courts. And on behalf of the coalition and my colleagues on the court, thank you for all that you do for Hoosier families, with many pressing legal needs and other challenges really made only worse by the COVID crisis. Now, despite these challenges, the coalition has had a busy year, and I'll provide an update on some of our progress. Through September, just the end of last month, our Indiana Legal Help website had more than 212,000 visitors, an increase of 25% over the same period last year. Now, that website helps people navigate legal issues on their own, so they can access basic forms and get information about legal and pro bono services. In addition, the coalition's been working with our Courts Innovation Initiative to develop guided interviews so that these family law resources are more accessible. The Innovation Initiative also is developing a pilot project to help provide pro bono services remotely in eviction cases. We're pleased to be able to announce that our website project is receiving a $125,000 technology grant from Legal Services Corporation through its local grantee, Indiana Legal Services. This grant will be used to expand tools for expungement, for driving privileges, gender marker and name change cases, and to create graphic and video instructions, do user testing. This year also marks the launch of Pro Bono Indiana. It's an umbrella entity that provides administrative, technical, financial, and compliance support for our state's pro bono network. And in addition, the coalition successfully urged the adoption of an emeritus pro bono rule for inactive and retired lawyers. We're proud of this year's accomplishments, despite the many challenges that we faced, and hope that you'll weigh in with ideas for future projects.
Justice Slaughter mentioned the Indiana Legal Help website in his remarks, and we want to highlight this project and its success. It had nearly 260,000 visitors in 2020, which is a 21% increase from 2019. 7 new guided interviews were added and over 500 inquiries were answered. We want to thank the Indiana Supreme Court and Indiana Legal Services for their financial, professional, and in-kind support. We also thank our community partners, including local, county, and Court of Appeals judges, attorneys, law school faculty, libraries, and volunteers for their continued guidance and support. And back to you, Scott.
Okay. Thank you so much, Judge DeVitas. By the way, just to mention, I have worked in the civil legal aid field for over 30 years. And the support that we have through the Coalition for Court Access, with the imprimatur and support of the Supreme Court and our chief, has been instrumental in making sure that Indiana's delivery of legal services to low-income and at-risk populations has improved dramatically through a variety of tools, including pro bono service, our websites, our technology tools, and our civil legal aid offices across the state. And it is such a joy to participate with the foundation with that kind of support from the court, because that is what truly makes substantial change possible in systems that are as complex as trying to deliver legal help to low-income people. So we can't thank our court partners and our friends at the Supreme Court enough for that wonderful work. Now I'm going to introduce Janet Chandler, my friend, who's going to talk to us about the Legendary Lawyer Program. Janet?
Thank you, Scott. I am so honored to present Doug Church to you, and Doug is with us here today. And if you look at your tiles, he has his favorite background of the historic courthouse in Hamilton County, and he loves that and always enjoys asking the students about it. I was also very excited to attend the presentation done by the Bar Foundation and on October the 15th, where Doug was honored for his legal ethics, community involvement, and public service. He serves as a partner as the firm that bears his name, Church, Churchill, and Antrim in Noblesville. And he has volunteered for a number of years with the We the People program, where I so enjoy seeing him yearly and questioning students, and always such a respectful individual. We're going to play a brief clip now from that program.
Their coffee, whatever you got. I've got a little kombucha here. We want to toast to you. So can't quite drink and eat, but we're going to toast. And again, like Doug said, if you would like to give to the Indiana Bar Foundation, check out how you can do so through the chat page and online. But let's raise a glass to celebrate Doug Church, the 2020 legendary lawyer. Doug, thank you for all that you've done for the community. Thank you for all that you've done for the legal profession in Hamilton County and across the state, and as many mentioned today, across the country and likely across the world. Your commitment to public service, professionalism, and legal ethics has impacted so many people in so many walks of life. Congratulations and cheers.
Hear, hear.
Congratulations.
We'd also like to thank Church Kittle and Antrim for being the sponsor of the event. And sorry that it was virtual, because I know the Bar Foundation spent a lot of time planning, excuse me, an in-person event. But congratulations to Doug. For my next slide, I will be talking about the 2019 Civic Index that recommended that we establish a task force. And so this task force was established, and I was privileged to serve on that as well. It was chaired by Lieutenant Governor Crouch. Our first meeting was supposed to be March 17th. Guess what? That didn't happen. And so instead, all of our meetings, we were going to travel throughout the state to take testimony. All of our meetings, of course, turned virtual. Excuse me. And as a result of that, we listened to experts from across the nation, as well as local experts in civic education. And then in November, we released our recommendation, and the picture that you see there is the front cover of the book of the recommendation. It's also available on the Indiana Bar Foundation website for you electronic fans. And the recommendation is in two phases. The first phase is set to be implemented in 2021 to 2024, and that focuses on certification and credentials in civics, and along with professional development, especially for teachers in younger grades. And then the second phase will be in the next 2 years, and that will be focused on a little bit different aspect here. Also want to give a shout out to the Lumina Foundation, which funded the task force. And we're going to play a video now. This video is a little bit longer. It takes about, well, let me tell you, it takes 7.5 minutes, all right? But you're going to hear from a passionate educator, Dr. Laura Hammock, who eats, breathes, and drinks civic education. And she is the superintendent of Brown County Schools. And she'll speak a lot about the We the People program. Thank you.
Only 15,000 citizens populate the entirety of Brown County. Of those 15,000, 1,700 are students of Brown County schools. Our school district, under the leadership of our previous superintendent, Mr. David Schaefer, learned about a civics education program called We the People that was led by the Indiana Bar Foundation. Quickly, this program was introduced with our 8th graders at Brown County Junior High. And under the expert leadership of our We the People Jedi Knight, who's actually a teacher, Mr. Michael Potts, Brown County Junior High School students learn to think critically, make connections, and deeply understand the mindsets of the framers of our nation and the meaning behind the United States Constitution. The work of diving deeply into civics education through the We the People platform resonated in our small community. People started noticing and wondered what was going on in the classroom, where students shook the hand of their teacher and addressed him as sir. This inaugural group of 8th graders, and 8th graders ever since, worked hard. And their hard work really paid off. Would you believe this small little school, who many wrote off as being just Brown County, would ultimately claim 6 state championships, 2 national runner-up titles, and 2 national We the People championships. Brown County Junior High School, 250 total students, national champions. Civics education through the We the People program inspired a profound spirit of hope in our community that had previously been lost. Clearly, the culture of our schools changed. State and national championships aren't something that we're super used to around here. But what was also extraordinary to witness was the way the community rallied behind these young people, even beyond what you might expect happened when Milan headed up to face Muncie Central in 1954. You see, the free and reduced lunch percentage in Brown County schools is fairly high. Many of our students come from environments where parents or grandparents struggle daily to ensure that their families have what they need. Our community stepped up to support this team financially through countless fundraisers so that every student stood proud in competition in a sharp new suit, and every student could travel to Washington, D.C. with no concern for expense. Our community rallied behind this program in a way that no one could have expected. And I believe it's because our community really got it. They truly understood that a profound focus on understanding our role as citizens in this great nation matters. It changes the community. Hope is restored where it once was lost because the next generation of leaders understand how it all works. I love sitting in on We the People hearings. Witnessing our students making connections between the words of our founding fathers and their own experiences in America today is inspiring. Watching them engage in dialogue with their colleagues when they disagree, where they may say things like, "I respectfully disagree with my colleague for the following reasons." This sort of dialogue inspires hope for a nation where it seems that civil discourse has been filled with more fire than grace. We often say that any of our 8th grade students involved in the We the People program know more about the United States Constitution than most college graduates. They understand and respect the responsibility of being a citizen of this great country. They know that there is power in their voice and ultimately their vote. They use constitutional law to establish context. And they throw descriptions like marble cake federalism around like confetti. I could tell you a story today about every one of our We the People alums, but for time purposes, I'd like to tell you about Tanner and Marie. I'm telling you about Tanner and Marie because I am confident that you will know Tanner and Marie one day. Both are deeply passionate young people. I got to know Tanner when I was a new superintendent, and this young student of ours was a consistent attendee of our school board meetings. Nobody comes to school board meetings. I got to know Tanner and his family and learned that the We the People program made him deeply interested in local government and politics. He would go on to write and win essays for our local VFW's Voice of Democracy program, and he was awarded the Lieutenant Governor's Brilliant Firefly Award by demonstrating outstanding community service, exemplary academic achievement, and exceptional leadership in our community. This was all inspired by We the People. Tanner is now at Purdue, and he will be running for, and he will win an elected office one day. Next on to Marie. I watched Marie's defense of her units during competition, and while doing so, I imagined her arguing in front of the Supreme Court. And then I checked myself and I readjusted that ideation. I imagined her instead sitting on the Supreme Court. I first met Marie during my first year as superintendent when she asked to interview me for her National History Day project. Very soon I learned that this wasn't an average middle school interview. I remember setting up a response to one of her questions like, well, there are these things called amendments to the Constitution. And very quickly, this 13-year-old cited cases like Tinker, Brandenburg, and Hazelwood. And I knew that this was going to be an interview unlike any that I had experienced before. Marie went on to slay her units during the We the People competition. She is a frequent medalist in National History Day competitions. She's earned summer internships as a high school student working for nonprofit organizations in Washington, D.C. Marie learned through her civics education that her government is by the people, and she's going to hold us to that, as she should. These stories represent two extraordinary young people who were fundamentally changed by their engagement in civics education. The good news is that these are two of many. One of my favorite parts of being engaged in this particular task force is that we were exposed to many other state and national civics education programs that are affecting the same sort of inspiration and engagement. It is such an exciting time for our state. The work of this task force, when realized, positions Indiana as a leader in advancing our democracy. It is a comprehensive approach, including the deployment of innovative civics education programs like We the People, and advances professional development opportunities for teachers so that our educators are positioned with the skills and resources that they need to dive deeply into this critically important work. Hope was restored in our community when we placed a profound focus on civics education. I expect the same for the great state of Indiana.
I'd like to thank Dr. Hammock for her remarks and also for her service on the Civic Education Task Force, along with the rest of you who served. Now I'll turn it back over to Scott.
Boy, I want to go to Brown County and go to school there now. What a wonderful message. That was wonderful. I'm going to reintroduce now Drew, who's going to cover a bit more on We the People. Drew?
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Unlike the mock trial program at the beginning of 2020, the We the People program was conducted virtually at the end of 2020. And it was, again, a really, really good example of how the foundation pivoted to this moment, but still made the programs that are so valuable to all of you and all of our students work. So there were 38 classes from 30 schools that showcased their knowledge of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights by testifying in those simulated congressional hearings before panels of judges. More than 800 students from across the state participated, and 100 volunteers helped judge and facilitate these virtual competitions and really make it possible for those students to still have this experience in such a challenging year. We want to thank those volunteers, some of whom are on this call, for your time, and for the foundations that are listed on this slide for their donations to the We the People program and then their help in supporting that program. Next slide, please, Kayla. We'd also like to take an opportunity to thank members of the Keystone Society. These are donors who give in more than $1,000 or more annually, and their donations help raise the operating funds for the mission, which can be some of the hardest funds for any nonprofit to raise. This year, 71 members raised more than just about $91,500 to go to the foundation's operating expenses. Next slide, Kayla. This is the list of individuals, many of whom are on this call too. And again, we would just like to give our sincerest thanks and gratitude to you for helping us improve our civic education and civil legal assistance for Hoosiers. If you'd like to take the opportunity to learn more about the Keystone Society, please do not hesitate to contact any of the members of the board or Kim Berry, our Director of Development for the Foundation. We'd be happy to help have you join us in this effort. Scott?
Okay, well, that will now conclude the review of the year. I would be remiss, however, as our most passionate supporters, those of you who are on the Zoom meeting today, know that much of the work that we're able to accomplish is done because of the wonderful work of Chuck Dunlap and our wonderful staff at the Barr Foundation. So I want to make sure that we properly acknowledge their integral work that makes all this happen, so that those of us who are volunteers, donors, and supporters can share in this wonderful thing. So we want to be sure we thank them as well.